Hello and welcome back. For all of you seeing me for the first time, yes, I'm a New Zealand guy wearing a mask. Get over it. I am a preparedness advocate and practitioner. Part of my preparedness strategy is not to tell you who I am, otherwise you may come for my preps. I'm sure at least some of you will understand my rationale, right? I need to say here that I do not advocate violence, but I do advocate taking action, getting yourself prepared, and as legislation is being passed that you do not agree with in your local country, if you are still allowed to make submissions and make known that you won't quietly nod as your freedoms are taken, I believe you should do so. I know this may make you a known voice and comes with risk, but inaction in the face of tyranny is a form of consent. Right. As we will talk a little about the economy today, I will say I do not provide financial advice and I am not a fiduciary. With all of my content and anything I say on this channel, my aim here is to give you the information as I see it, but I believe that you should do your own research, take everything I say with a grain of salt and make up your own mind and come to your own conclusions. That's only logical, correct? We have a bit to get through today and I don't want to waste a lot of time, but I should briefly go over a little bit of global news that we are all seeing already. Right, so the markets have tanked the last few days. Your KiwiSaver or pension is probably down, the value of your house is probably down too, and if that's not enough, this is the beginning of the crash, and I think it's going to keep continuing to go down for quite some time. Right across the globe, but more so in the west than the east. Everything you need to buy regularly is going up, and it's going to go up further, so either buy now or pay more later. That is where we are at right now. Let's get stuck in then, shall we? Righto. Let's play Connect the Dots Global Edition. I am trying to break up these videos and get into some practical ones and some local ones and then international ones. But today we have international things you need to know. But why? Simply put, if you know what's happening overseas and around the world, you may recognize it when it gets here. You'll note I said when, not if, and that's because I've spent several hours reading legislation and amendments here, but that's context for the next video. I know these have been slow in coming. There's just not enough hours in the day, and also I have to work, and I've been planning a multi-day hunting trip too, and my gardens needed some work, so I will show you some of that in a later video. So for the first thing that I'm going to talk about in this video today is a few predictions and things I see coming down the line. Not just for us here in New Zealand, but for all of us. When I say us, I mean law-abiding and liberty-loving free humans. So, what do I think is coming? Well, the government is coming. They're coming for your freedoms, they're coming for your property, your rights, and very soon your privacy. Basically, it's going to become slavery in all but name, except this slavery you pay for. You pay for your own upkeepers also. They're going to track what you eat, how you paid for it, when you went to the bathroom and what came out. And God help you if something came out that they couldn't track where it came from and when it went in. You're going to get a human score similar to the social credit score that's already in place in China, but this one will also track your individual carbon emissions score for everything. And that's beginning right now. Which leads us to our next part of the video. Let's briefly talk about the World Economic Forum and what they said. So firstly, for those who don't know, the World Economic Forum is an international unelected group founded in 1971 by German engineer and economist Klaus Schwab. It is a lobbying group that describes itself this way and states that it is non-governmental, but essentially it is unelected. They forecast and put proposals forward to governments who are then pressured into adopting them. Its members are those that sit at the heads of banks and International Monetary Fund, etc. So I'm going to keep this far more brief than most do, as it's going to scare a few of you, and I don't want it to seem like I'm blaming them for everything, because that simply is not the point here. That said, I do want to point out The same year that Richard Nixon unpegged the US dollar from the gold standard in 1971 was the year this forum was founded, and at that very time only a few people had any idea what removing the gold standard and formally pegging the world's reserve currency to its debt would have. But it needs to be said that this was one of the most consequential acts in all of human history as I see it. Before this happened, way back during Woodrow Wilson's time as leader of the USA in 1913, he signed the Federal Reserve Act into existence. He later exclaimed that he had unwittingly destroyed his nation. I suspect he knew what was to come, and given it took little more than a century to reach boiling point, any around him that also knew have passed. And as we know, it only takes 2 or 3 generations to forget the lessons of the past. And thus we arrive here. From actions that took place before the birth of most of us living generations, do we find ourselves living in this age of consequences. So the World Economic Forum, let's try and get the most important parts of this out without all of the fluff, right? Some of their works you may have heard about. Carbon net zero. This is a big topic right now, isn't it? Well, this one's simple. You are the enemy here. You produce carbon, your work life produces carbon, your house and its need for energy produces carbon. All over the local media we are hearing things like let's get to carbon net zero and generation less. These are buzzwords. These are social engineering. They are conditioning you to feel better about doing less, living more minimalist, not bettering yourself, working less. On the face of it, it seems to imply it is a good thing, and it's noble, but then you realize in order to remove your carbon, they will inevitably need to remove your life. Which begs the question, how would they ever be able to accomplish this without the people they are effectively killing getting wise and putting a stop to it? I mean, that's what we think, right? It couldn't happen. No one would take part in that. Someone would figure it out. Someone would stop it, right? Wrong. Because just like your job, it is lots of people making small moves. They make these moves because they want to eat and do well at their job, just like you or I do. It's the same when you're at school. You'll learn the curriculum that's taught you, but not more, as it's unnecessary. This forum is making proposals and lobbying governments to make certain moves and pass certain laws, but no one knows the whole picture and very few are capable of reasoning it all through and coming to logical conclusions and not going insane with the ramifications of what they know. Energy rationing is also one of their goals to help you get to carbon net zero. Basically, you will soon have a limit on how much power you can use in a day, whether that's for heating, cooking, cleaning, or anything else, perhaps even getting to work. But this is one of many bottlenecks that are being placed on us in this massive squeeze in the name of carbon net zero. And what they call this is environmental social governance, and it is coming to a city near you soon. Basically, it's best for the environment if you don't work, don't farm, don't eat, don't raise livestock, don't use fertilizer, don't procreate. So let us decide everything for you. Let us tell you how much power you can have, how much food you can eat, what space on the planet you can occupy. If George Orwell only knew the lengths as we as a species are willing to go to control each other, it is absurd. Did I say welcome to the technocratic dictatorship? Yep.
The Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire.
Every prepper is now an enemy of the Empire. Right, well that was fun. If you've managed to get this far without feeling defeated, I commend you and ask you to like and subscribe and share this video. So, what's next? How about another piece of the picture? Let's talk about the food chain reaction game, eh? In 2015, a group of international leaders and groups, but not the World Economic Forum, played a game. It was like a war game designed to see what would happen if between 2020 and 2030 the world had pressures from urbanization, from climate change, from inflation and unrest, and it looked at what your reaction to rising food prices, to supply chain collapses and global unrest would be. It was organized into teams that represented world regions and bodies and organizations like the EU and the UN and NGOs like the World Economic Forum. They posed scenarios like massive floods or droughts and crop failures and earthquakes and supply chain collapses, global unrest and famine, and looked at what governments would do in these situations. Yes, it was done under the guise of let's see if we can proactively get ahead and solve these problems before they happen. But how did that work out, eh? I'm speculating here, but I believe the results of those counteractions to events were used in what's happening right now. Trade deals drawn up after it, like the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, were drawn up and signed into effect almost just after the game was played, and these pieces of legislation limit what governments can do in response to certain events. As in, we cannot stop supplying you our food over here in New Zealand because we're bound by the quotas that we have in the TPPA, right? So, did no one else notice that the places in the world that are stopping the export of grains and other commodities are not part of this agreement? Why? Well, it's because this trade deal means that if they do, they could face fines more damaging than their own populations starving. Is it a coincidence that this is happening now? If you get a chance to look up and read through, you will soon understand that this many coincidences is farcical. Okay, well, I had planned more to go into this video, but it looks like we're going to have to cut it there and put a part 2 that covers Agenda 2030, local media reports, global events from the last month or so, the UN, the UK, the EU, and more from the WEF, as well as the war in Ukraine and the coming World War, China and Taiwan, and what's coming next for those theatres. If you found what I had to say here interesting or entertaining, and you want to see more frequently, like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you do and don't like. I am working on more videos as we speak, but it takes time, and I'd rather wait until I understand what I'm reading before trying to articulate it back out to you guys correctly. Also, I will be putting up a gardening video very soon, and let me know if you'd like to see what's in my hunting pack / bug out bag. This has been a small bite of information to keep you informed or to help you understand why you should be preparing. Take care and stay safe, and I'll see you all next time. New Zealand Prepper.